Hey everybody, this is Dr. Mark Arcuri here in Santa Fe, New Mexico today, and welcome. It's Wednesday, and it's our time for our weekly video, audio podcast, and however else you may be accessing this broadcast. And I am sitting out in my yard here in Santa Fe. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful day, as is so often the case, and I get to say it almost every time we talk. Since I am outside, you may hear a car in the background, you might hear an airplane go by, hopefully you'll hear the birds chirping, and you can see this beautiful, beautiful Dutch iris behind me that Carlos had planted about 10 years ago, and they come up every spring, and it's one of my favorite things to watch out for as the seasons change. So, what we're going to be doing for the next several weeks is going through piece by piece my newest book, which is almost ready for prime time, but not quite yet, but I do know what it looks like, so I can share pieces of it with you. And the book is called Paradise Rediscovered, and it's all about the journey to reconnecting with who you really are. And that journey is something that we begin really probably when we're old enough to begin realizing that the world as we've been taught is not necessarily the world that we will come to know and embrace as we get older. And once we begin to experience that schism between what others have taught us and what we think is probably more true for us, then we have the opportunity to begin putting the world together in a way that makes much more sense to us and brings us ever closer to that experience of who we really are. And I call that place of who we are paradise. And that process of rediscovery, because it's something that I think we're born with in knowing in our DNA who we are, but we get deprogrammed, and so we rediscover in the course of our lives who we really are. So the book is organized into three parts, and the first part is very very simple. The first part is called The Beginning, the second part is called And Then, and the last part is called And Finally. And finally is kind of a misnomer, I think, because that sort of implies that the journey is over, and it's never over. And I think when we die, make our transition, we continue the journey in another way. That's my personal belief. And I also believe that we come back, and when we come back, we pick up that journey where we left off, and hopefully don't have to start over again, but can truly start where we left off and take it the next steps in another lifetime. So the first chapter of the book, there are, oh my goodness, I can't remember, probably about 12 chapters. And the first chapter I've got these cards in my office inside, and they're organized on a whiteboard with magnets, and I sort of move them around till things make better sense to me. But the first chapter of the book is a chapter that to me begins the entire process of rediscovery. And what I wrote here as my thought and my inspiration for writing the rest of the chapter is we always manifest the life of our dreams. The problem is that we're not usually dreaming of the life that we want. So we always manifest the life of our dreams, but the problem is that we're not always dreaming, or we're not usually dreaming of the life that we want. And that to me really encapsulates the whole Paradise Rediscovered journey. So you've heard me say before in other broadcasts that we're born into this world by parents who bring us into being, and in that moment, or the 9 months before when we're being formed, I guess, in our mother's womb, we know who we are. We come into this world knowing that. There's no question that our God-given, our divine-given, our higher power-given essence is there. And we're very clear on that. But we're born into this life, and as Wayne Dyer says, then our parents look up and say, "Thank you, God, for this beautiful creation. We're so happy. We'll take it from here." And they begin to basically program us into a being that they feel that we should be based on their understanding of the world that we're coming into. And the problem is that as we begin to get older, as I was saying a few moments ago, we begin to have these problems in our life, and we don't quite know how to reconcile them, because there's this disconnect where we're faced with a world that doesn't feel real in some sense to us in our inner being, and so we're not really very well equipped to deal with it based on the stories and the programming that others have given us. You've heard me say as well that the Jesuits teach that that the first 7 years of life are kind of this time in our development, in our human development, where we're sort of like a sponge. We take in everything around us, and in particular at that early age, the teachings of the important people around us, our caretakers and others that have prime responsibility for being in our life. We take in those teachings without question because we don't have the ego strength or the cognitive development yet, or the conscious development in our mind to really understand that we have a choice, and that what we're being taught may be true, but it may not be true. And if it's not true, perhaps looking at some of the other experiences and trying to understand what might be a better match for us. So during that first 7-year period, the Jesuits say, give me the boy for 7 years and I'll show you the man. Meaning that if you give me this person for the first 7 years of their life, I will program them to be who they will be 30 years from now, because they'll have that programming and their view of the world is going to be what I teach them it needs to be for survival. So we go through that 7 years, we absorb everything like a sponge. We don't have the ability at that early age to question things, but then something happens. Around 7 years old, developmentally, our brain begins to evolve a little bit more, or a lot more, I should say, and suddenly we begin to develop this sense of consciousness, this sense of consciousness to who we are. And in a way, all heck breaks loose. We begin to experience more problems than we ever did. We're a young child, and we don't have a lot of problems in the world. Things go wrong, mom and dad or whoever it is that's in our life to watch over us. For many of us, or most of us, some people don't even have that luxury, but those problems sort of get taken care of. We don't have to do a whole lot. We do see what's going on, but we don't have to do a lot to take care of those problems. But somewhere around 7 years old, we start to have a little bit more autonomy. We start to feel our way a little bit. We start to move a little bit away from those caretakers and have experiences in the world that we may not always share because they may not always see them, and we may just have to deal with on our own. And if we were perfectly equipped for the world by our caretakers who have programmed us up to this age, we would know exactly what to do, and there really wouldn't be a problem at all. We would notice this speed bump in our life, and we would do whatever we need to do, and we would deal with it. But that doesn't happen. We begin to have some anxieties. We begin to have the angst. We begin to not know what to do. We begin to think, well, gee, I didn't get prepared for that problem. That's not something that they told me about when I was younger. And so I believe that it's that disconnect, that area of not knowing, that really highlights that what we've been told about the world by our caretakers and what really is out there as we are going to experience it doesn't always match up. And the difference, that schism in between, is this opportunity for us to begin exploring, to explore what the better fit is, to explore how we might handle this problem in a way that resonates more with us. And in doing that, we get clues to who we are. So when I say we always manifest the life of our dreams, the problem is that we're not usually dreaming of the life we want. What I mean is that we always get what we dream about, always. But we need to be sure that the dreams that we're having are the dreams that honor who we really are, and not the dreams of the important others in our lives who have raised us up until the point that we begin to become aware of our dreams. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So stop for a little while. If you're listening to a recording, audio, video, whatever, you can stop and just kind of think about for a moment that we always manifest the life of our dreams. The problem is we're not usually dreaming of the life that we want. And the key word is we, the life that we want. So we have to be clear as we begin to become aware, aware of what our dreams are. Do they seem to resonate for us? Do they seem to fit? Do they seem to be speaking to the essence of ourself as we understand ourself? or is it living out someone else's dreams? And I think we've all probably dealt with that to some degree, especially as we get into the teenage years and start to think about a career, and there may be some sense of felt loyalty to the family to go into a certain career because that's what everybody's done over the generations, or in my case it was to go into a field because that's what my family thought was a good living, and it was prestigious and something that we could talk about to the neighbors and all those good things. But it wasn't really what I wanted, and I bet you've had that experience as well. So I want you to begin thinking this week of when you began to come into your own sense of consciousness, your own sense of self, your own sense of who you really were, even if you weren't sure who that was yet. But the schism that you had, the feeling that there was something quite not adding up based on the experiences that they taught me and the experiences that I seem to be having now. There's a beautiful bird here up on the fence. Begin thinking about when you began to question those things, and ask yourself what you did back then. Because what I want to propose to you is that the way that you go about solving that schism, the way you go about bringing who you really are out into the open, is by looking at how you ended up solving problems that you've had in the past. However it was that you decided to take the reins and deal with whatever was going on in your life that you didn't quite feel like you knew how to fix, how did you go about doing that? What did you learn in the process? What skills did you develop? What values did you become in touch with? Things that really might have been very different from what other people taught you. And in fact, what other people taught you didn't seem to work very well. So begin to kind of make a list of what those things are. And we'll use that as we go through this Paradise Rediscovered process in the course of the next several weeks and going through my book. And what I want to propose to you is that those resolutions, those ways of being, those ways of solving problems, those values that you came to embrace that may have been different from what you were taught, are all pieces of that puzzle, the puzzle that I call the puzzle of who you really are. And as we begin to put those pieces together, you learn more and more about yourself. And when you finish, you have this picture of you as you really are in your core essence. And then you know what your dreams are. And when you begin manifesting your dreams, you know that those dreams are the dreams that you really want to live into. And it's not a difficult process. It's a process of being, as Jeannie Achterberg, my wonderful mentor who made her transition a few years ago, taught me, of being awake and aware. That's all you have to do, is be awake and aware. You don't need to figure things out. You don't need to even understand what you're awake and aware of. You just need to be awake and aware and take it from there. All right? Think about that this week. Let us know. Scroll down in the comments or send an email. Let us know what you're thinking, how this is percolating, and what questions you have so that we can answer those questions going forward. For now, though, make sure you go over to drmarkarcuri.com and you can access all of these videos there. Eventually, you'll be able to access the podcast as well. And one thing I want to remind you is while you're at drmarkarcuri.com, or if you're on facebook.com/drmarkarcuri, go ahead and sign up for the monthly free giveaway that we have. This month is May 2019, and that monthly giveaway will be for a free spot in our upcoming e-course based on my first book, A Life Aligned, and that book perfectly dovetails into Paradise Rediscovered. So focusing there gives you a really good foundation for the journey to come. So go ahead and sign up for the free monthly giveaway. This is May now, May 1st. And if you sign up today, we'll be announcing that winner in June, or I think June 5th. This is the first Wednesday of the month. And anyway, every month we give away something free, so you can sign up every month and be sure to get in on those contests. So drmarkarcuri.com, you can see all the old videos, you can get some podcasts, you can look at my hair, you can, that's who I really am. The universe is orchestrating that. You can check out the old videos, you can look at our weekly blog, and you can sign up for the contests that we run, as well as sign up for individual coaching, which I absolutely love to do. That's what I spend most of my time doing, is coaching people just like you through this process and getting to that place of absolute discovery and what I'm beginning to call an expansion extravaganza. You're going to see those words throughout everything that we do. So be well. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for bearing with my wonderful hairdo at the end of the session here. And I will speak to you very, very soon. Lots and lots of love and gratitude from Santa Fe, New Mexico today, and on this Labor Day in Mexico. Be well. Lots of love. Ciao.